All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever it is you tune in. Hope all is going well. I am Noah, as always.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, what's going on, guys?
Just
Just had to make sure.
two
Had to
people chatting here.
very much.
What
Heads
were you making
burning.
sure of?
Hmm.
What were you making sure of?
Oh, said heads burning. So, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Had to get a retwist today. So that didn't go very
got an
welcoming.
eye exam yesterday. That was a shot to my wallet. For that much.
I heard those are expensive.
It's worse when you don't have vision insurance. Because like it's a $79 exam, and if you don't like get a pair of glasses, you kind of like walk in there, pay $79, and then walk out with nothing to show for it afterwards. So like, you kind of have to,
Get glasses,
yeah.
even if you don't even
So at
want
least
them.
that's what it is for me over here. Ooh, we are struggle busting over here as far as financially. Anyways, how's everybody else doing? We got a couple of people that are already tuned in. We got engine number 9, Dirty Bird Dixon. Got a mouthful. Red Swarm. Always happy to see you. Uh, I never figured out how you say your name, so I'm just gonna say Gat Boy. Let's go with you guys as well. So, Trucker Mike, welcome back.
Good to see some familiar faces in here.
Yeah, it's about that time of the season, though. We're not even talking festivities. We're talking like the. I wouldn't say like the end of the year review because I want to try to do that next week. Um, just as far as the team and obviously our contributions to the channels and stuff. So we'll do that next time around. What I want to focus on here is not only this game, because I know that some people won't really care about the game, and I don't blame you at this point. But we will try to talk about the future and what this can hold, like what this game can mean for us moving forward. Because whether or not you care about the results, I think what's taking place, like in between plays, is what's going to be important to pay attention to. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what's going on with the players, what's going on with the front office, and if there's any fingers that are being pointed at other people that have no like merit to it. We're going to try to discuss everything else in between. So,
Rich McKay.
ooh, it's quite the name there for whatever reason. All right. So, let's try to dig into this big question. Um, I think what we want to ask first here is what is next for the quarterback position? I don't care about names. I don't care about like what's happening above them or below them. What do you think this future holds for this quarterback position?
Um, what's going on? 3:30. So as you guys know, um, every draft, me, Noah, Mike, K Styles, basically all of Atlanta Falcon Nation, everyone who goes live Monday through Sunday, because we literally go live basically every day. Just may not be with the same people. We live stream the draft, or we go on stream while the draft is going on, giving y'all our opinion on everything and who we think we're going to draft, and our take on it. So 2 years ago, well, 1 year ago, I guess you can say, um, in the third round, we selected Desmond Ritter. And as you guys know, I didn't really know who Desmond Ritter was much when we had first drafted him. Because I wasn't really, I mean, I knew who the top 5 quarterbacks were, and I did my studies on him, but I wasn't really intrigued with him. I didn't really even think we were going to draft a quarterback that year, to be honest. And to be honest, for me, it was Sam Howell, but then he started dropping and dropping. So of course, K Style said he was pretty good. He's wanted him since the Georgia Bowl game they had against Cincinnati at the end of 2021. And I was like, okay, K Styles likes him. Let me see what he does and how he operates and what his record was and how he played. And I got invested into him and I liked him. Um, as you guys know, he started the last 4 games of last year. It started every game but 2 games this year. No, well, tomorrow will be 3 games, so everything but 3 games. Unless something drastically happens tomorrow, God forbid. But yeah, me summing all that up is basically saying that even though I wanted Desmond Ritter to succeed and I've had that guy's back since he was basically drafted, I think that experiment is pretty much dead. And the reason I say that is he has had his ups. He's had plenty of ups, but he has also had so many downs this year and just at the wrong timings. In some games, and when I mean some, I mean like 2, we were able to get past them and, you know, we'll still win the game. Other games, as last week against the Panthers, 2 weeks ago against the Buccaneers, the Tennessee game, the Jaguars game. I can't really put the Lions game on him because that game everybody played terrible, from him getting sacked 7 times to drop balls, terrible passes, and the defense couldn't just they were on the field too much that game. So that
Let's
game
not
was
forget Washington.
oh yeah, Washington game. That was definitely on him. Saying all of that, he has had his ups. Had a lot of ups in those 4 games last year when he finished 2-2. Had a lot of ups in the first 2 weeks. Had those downs week 3 and week 4. Had his ups week 5 and week 6. And then everything just went to crap. You can't, and the reason I'm saying that this experiment is dead is because after you pulled him the first time, okay, you pulled him. He had a chance of coming back. He was most likely going to come back. I know he was most likely going to come back unless Taylor Heineke went 2-0, and we could tell the offense was like actually clicking with him, and it looked better. The offense didn't look that much better. We were still turning the ball over. We were drying out in the red zone or just not getting in the red zone at all. Still had terrible passes, bad reads, bad routes, bad run blocking, fumbles from Bijan Robinson. Just everything still looked the same, just with a different quarterback who didn't have as much scrambling ability as Desmond did. So he comes back after the bye, whoops on the Saints, even though he had those 2 interceptions, had a pretty good game that game. Had that beautiful pass to Bijan Robinson, to Drake London, showed off his scrambling ability. That was probably the 3rd best game he's had all season. Jets game was a messy game. We would only put up 13 points. The entire offense was lethargic. We were beat up that game. And, things were looking good. We're on the 2-game win streak. We're at the top of our division. We're 6-6. We're playing a beat-up Buccaneers team who is coming off of a 3-point win against the Panthers in a rain game. That game right there was probably the most mixed game that Desmond has had all year. Of course, he had the terrible interception, which it was 50-51. That was just a terrible read. He shouldn't have thrown it. But two, the play design was just weird. You have a quarterback that's supposed to be a quick screen doing a play fake to the other way, 316. Kyle Pitts and Van Jefferson didn't even block either corner that was out there, Carlton Davis or the slot corner that was out there. And it was just it was a bad game. Of course, he had the safety where he double hitched, held the ball too long. Why are we doing a play action pass that has every route going 20 yards too deep when we're at the 4-yard line? Hey, I have no idea. I'm not Arthur Smith or Dave Vergron or anybody in that coaching staff. But then he has the plays where he scores that touchdown, outruns the linebacker, pushes him off, scores, had that great pass to Drake London. Had some pretty good passes that game to lead us downfield and help us score that basically that entire fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes of the third quarter. But we still lost because of Richard Grant and the defense, because we were out there too long. Because from the point where we scored that touchdown from the point when Koo missed that first field goal until the last 2 minutes of the third quarter, our longest drive was a minute and I think 30 seconds. And that went for like 5 plays and 26 yards. So saying all of that, and then of course we just had last game where he had, like he said, the worst interception of his life. Literally, like, don't know where he was throwing to. Like I said, I have no idea. I'm not the quarterback. I'm not in the field room, so I have no idea who he was intending to throw to. If Drake London did in fact get lazy on the route and just stopped, or if he was trying to hit Cordell Patterson and didn't see him, or if he was trying to hit Kyle Pitts and threw it behind him too far. I have no idea, but that was the worst interception I've seen a quarterback in a Falcons uniform throw since. No, that you don't get any worse than that. I don't think I've seen Matt Schaub when he played those 3 games throw an interception as bad as that. So yeah. Well, where do you go from here? You know, you're benched them again. We're basically in a win, and it's literally for everybody. If you win, you keep your jobs. You lose, you're back trying to find another job. And you can feel that because Taylor Heineke's starting. Arthur Smith is doing everything he literally can to save his job. And at this point, we'll find out in the next 3 weeks if it worked or not. And to be honest, it's a terrible thing right now because none of us were expecting to be third in our division, and the best team in our division has 7 wins with the easiest schedule, the most talented team in the division by far, youngest team but more talented than anybody else. And to be honest, no quarterback has really outstanded themselves and said they're the best. Every quarterback has had a good game, but no quarterback in this division has had a great year by any means standard. So, to be honest, we'll have to see what happens with Taylor tomorrow. Because at this point, if we lose and then he goes back to Desmond, he's pretty much gone at that point. And Arthur Smith wise, because you can't go back to Desmond anymore. You can't. You can't do it. The kid's confidence is burnt. It's killed. It's dead. There is no going back to Desmond after benching him for the second time. Him literally seeing himself sell a game to the worst team in the league. And now we're 6-8. We still need the Buccaneers to lose at least 2 more games to even be a consideration to make the playoffs week 18 when we play the Saints. And then we have to win these 2 games. The next 2 games will be in consideration for that. So at this point, it is what it is. We don't really have. I mean, at this point, everybody's playing for their job unless you're Jesse Bates, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Tyler Algier, the entire offensive line, Bijan Robinson. I say Kyle Pitts already?
Yeah. AJ Terrell.
Yeah, AJ Terrell, Grady
I
Jarrett,
mean, most of our rookies, like Clark
yeah,
Phillips and stuff.
most of our rookies. Nate Lamon and Caden Ellis, Arnold
Possibly.
Ebiketie. Unless you're one of those guys, you're playing for your job right now. And that's just been even Joe Smith at this point. He hasn't done anything other than that one catch in the last really since the bye week. Really since the bye week. And really before that, he wasn't doing anything in the Cardinals game. So
Yeah,
like
I mean, did you realize that like Michael Pruitt and Tucker Fisk had more snaps in that Panthers game than
yeah,
Jonnu?
yeah. It was kind of weird. From I don't know if it's another Cordell Patterson situation where we had a veteran go off and then he just burned out later in the season, but it's just at like I said, at this point it's win or go home, and it really starts tomorrow. And at this point, it's just whatever happens, happens. You lose, better draft position, new head coach. You basically start over and hope that coach can take what we have and get it into the playoffs next year. Or Arthur Smith gets us into the playoffs this year and we go and get him another quarterback to see if he can do something with it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the entire quarterback room is just done.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah, most
I think like I don't even think Logan Woodside stays. I like I think you just have to clear the entire thing. And the reason why I don't think that Desmond Ritter stays, because there's a case here, right? We'll get to like the coordinators and the coaches a little bit later because I just want to talk about like the small stuff and then scale upwards. So the quarterback thing, because this is kind of tangibly the easiest to fix, and I think that it's easier to figure out what the answer to that is first because you never know which coach is going to be available. You can't really tell which are the best candidates for like offensive coordinator and all like other positional coaches and stuff. Um, now, something like this, I don't trust Trey Lance either.
no. I'm tired of going to get rejects.
That's
I'm tired. I'm tired of it. We've
not
been doing
something.
guys, when are we just gonna at this point just say draft a quarterback and let him grow? I'm tired of rejects. This is the reason I don't want to go with Justin Fields or like I'm 50-50 with it. Because Justin Fields has literally done nothing. Y'all can give him all the excuses you want. The coaching staff, the wide receivers, the O-line, his head coach. He's still made rookie mistakes in the last 2 years that's not on coaching. It's not on coaching. Overthrowing balls, terrible interceptions, not protecting the rock when he's running the ball. Too many fumbles, nearly as much as Desmond Ritter, throwing into double coverage. I mean, he's got the weapons this year, but that you can't use that excuse anymore. He's got the weapons this year. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. The running game is actually pretty decent, so he has the weapons. The offensive line is doing better, and the defense is playing better, and they're still losing games. So you can't use that excuse anymore for him. So
I literally kicked it away too.
it's like
Like they couldn't, like they didn't just throw the game; they kicked the game.
literally. And what is Trey Lance gonna do? He couldn't beat out Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo for playing time. Well, what is he gonna do? He's injury prone. He
And
can't.
we
He's
also
not.
saw like why he was not beating them out too, because we had some preseason tape in which, like, if you wanted to compare like preseason things, Desmond Ritter looked fantastic in comparison to Trey Lance.
I would rather just keep Desmond at that point because Lance is just the worst Desmond at this point. He's a quarterback 3 on the Cowboys. Now, of course, Dak Prescott's having an MVP season, but you're telling me he can't be QB2? He's on
Was
Logan
it still
Woodside
Cooper Rush or something?
or Cooper Rush, whoever's over there. You telling me he can't
I don't
beat out
know.
them? So for me, that the no go on Trey Lance. I'm not doing that.
So, all right, let's take a look at some of these things here. So it says, well, I agree. We need to solidify the staff and get a feel for the future of the Falcons. Yeah. If Arthur stays bringing Leftwich, Dorsey, or Frank Reich. Am I seeing that correctly?
You mean the same guy that threw a screen pass on a 4th and 6 in a win-or-go-home situation?
I think there's better options. If Smith is fired and we're gonna go, he says Bieniemy, Joe Brady, Callahan. I'll live over 4 years being an OC or Nagy, Gruden.
McDaniel. Whoa. That just you blew me away with the Nagy, and then you said Gruden. Then you went to McDaniels, and then Garrett, Mike Tomlin. I don't think Mike Tomlin's going to get fired because they just blew out the Bengals, so they're still in playoff contention. And Flores is staying with the Vikings at this point. I don't even think he wants to go be a head coach anymore after what happened with the Dolphins. And I think some people realize that after. I mean, Dan Quinn's realizing it right now. He could have taken the Cowboys job last year. It was reported he wanted to stay as a defensive coordinator.
I mean, like Flores is a defensive guy. Now, what's weird is that I've noticed in the past how we hire like offensive-minded coaches, and then, right now we hired an offensive-minded coach, and then our defense is fantastic. We've been trying to hire defensive-minded coaches, and then our offenses were great.
Thing is,
I don't know what to make sense of that, but.
And what happens if you hire Flores and then you lose Nilsson and the defense gets worse? Because we have a better defense than the Vikings right now. Even we don't have the pass rush that they have, but we have a better defense than they do statistically. So what happens if we say, okay, Nilsson, you had 1 year, you made our defense top 5 for the first time in 7 years. Oh, but you get the boot with Arthur Smith. You bring in another guy who's thinking, he's done this before, and we end up being the same team, but worse, with a worse defense and a so-so offense. Because I don't trust him with a quarterback either. He drafted Tua, and Tua started blossoming as soon as he left. So,
right. I can see the higher ceiling for him. I really can. But the problem is that his processor has just kind of been scorched by whatever coaching that Arthur Smith has done or Ragona's done, because he's both the OC and the quarterback coach. So it's not really a problem that he can fix on his own, because the people he's getting help from aren't going to allow him to fix it. So therefore, I don't think that under this regime he can even reach his hiring ceiling. Could he be like a Geno Smith scenario where it's like he'll go to another team, wait a couple of years, wait for his opportunity after that, and then blossom? It very well could be the case with him. But that's going to take a while in order for him to like rebuild his skill as far as like the decision making and the things that he can do physically. Because again, we praise the intangibles that he's got, it takes a certain type of person to be the Falcons quarterback specifically. And I think that as far as in between the stuff, the things that most fans won't care about, he's nailed. But got to make those throws and you got to make those decisions. And the less often you get them to work for you, the less likely you are to have a job. Because it is a privilege to be an NFL quarterback. It's not necessarily a right. If we keep Ritter at quarterback, part of me feels if Ritter has a true OC and quarterback coach, he would be so much better. Same with his entire offense and have the pieces for any offense with a top 10 defense. And it's like he's got the pieces for him. Like that's kind of the problem though. So I'm gonna kind of combine this with I'm gonna use an analogy here, and I'm trying to like figure out like where we're at. All right, so picture this: you're at Subway. Now it's sponsored by Subway.
We wish.
You go and you wait in line. You start ordering your sandwich, and you're going through the thing, and then at the end of the line, you're like, all right, cool. So here's a sandwich, and then you get it, take a bite into it. You don't like the meat, and you're like, crap, this meat is not good. So then you go back to them, and you're like, all right, well, here's the thing. I took a bite of it, and I don't like the meat. So could you imagine them? And you can visibly see them do this, by the way. They will take the sandwich, not touching the bread or not touching the meat. They will replace the bread right in front of you and then hand it back and be like, here you go. And I'm like, you made a change, but it's not the one you needed to make. And then you're like, all right, I need to see someone else here because obviously you're not doing good at your job. And then someone else comes in and was like, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to wait for the meat to naturally rot before we can, swatch it out from your sandwich. And then we'll give it to you. And you're like, that's not the solution either. Like, you can easily fix this right in front of you right now. And yet the fact that you're avoiding the obvious answer for all this time, you naturally lose out of your patience. We are the person that is ordering the sandwich. The coach is the worker that just swatched out the bread because he just felt like it. The meat is the offense, and particularly the quarterback. And the person that came in later is the owner. Now, the additional thing, and this is what people are trying to say, which is also equally baffling to me, is that some people will not like the sandwich. They'll go to the counter and they'll be like, hey, I need to talk to the person that made this building because I want him fired. Can you guess who that is in this scenario?
Rich McKay.
I can't even believe I have to say that. Because there's obvious changes at this point. And sure, we're going to have to wait, but it's going to feel like we're just naturally seeing this team decay in order for them to make any kind of solution. And the problem is mostly on the field. Right? So I'm not going to try to pin the blame on Arthur Blank. And it's a bit too early, despite being very late in the season, to really make a meaningful change at the coach. Because whoever's going to be the interim, they're going to have a lot on their hands with not a lot of time to do anything, especially if you're still mathematically in the playoff hunt. And here we go.
Guys, for the love of Jesus Christ, Lord. Okay, let me explain this to you guys. Okay, let me explain. I'm gonna take you back to before we hired Arthur Smith, January 13th, 2021, 5:45. No, my fault. I was at a football field that day. So 3:30, because it was 2 hours. I got the notification 2 hours after it happened. That's when I checked my phone. Okay, look. I need you people to understand this. Rich McKay has nothing to do with head coaching hirings, to do with firings, to do with signing players, drafting players, cutting players, letting players get healthy, any of that. He doesn't control any of that stuff anymore. He let go of that when he came to the Atlanta Falcons, okay?
He is in charge, chart, nor the snap counts, nor the injuries, nor anything else.
Or that. He let that go when he left the Bucs. He takes care of non-football related stuff, as in the stadium, the prices in the stadium, Who comes to the stadium? You just seen Woodward Academy and Cedar Grove and a whole bunch of other high schools just played their region championships there and state championships there at the school at the stadium last weekend. He takes care of what else was it? What is built in the stadium? Who builds the stadium? All that he deals with the stadium and what happens there. He has no control over what Terrafano does, over what Arthur Blank does, over who gets fired, over who he gets hired, over who gets cut, traded, extended, signed. All he doesn't deal with any of that. So he stop saying to fire Rich McKay. Firing Rich McKay is not going to do anything. If you think firing Rich McKay is going to all of a sudden make us a winning team, it's not. I'm sorry to break your heart, but it's not. It's really not. What is because the thing is, even if you want a Rich McKay fire, which half of this fan base, why I don't know, but does, he's a president on the NFL Association, as in making rules and all and helmets and what else was it, and injuries and all that. He makes the rules for the NFL. You know how many people on teams would die to have somebody in their organization on that? All 32 teams will have somebody on that committee. It's only really like 10, I think, 10 or 16. And he's the president of it. If you think Arthur Blank is gonna fire him, y'all might as well just let it go. It's not gonna happen. And then the thing, thank you, AJ, for saying that. Yelling at Richard, like yelling at the class, it's not gonna change anything. That's it. Yelling at the clouds, saying stop raining, and it continues to have a hurricane. It's not gonna do anything, guys. It's not gonna do anything. Because firing Rich McKay isn't going to help us be 10-4 right now, contending with the 49ers and the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Lions. That's not going to help. And two, Terry Fontenot knew who was going to be hired before we hired Arthur Smith. I don't know if you people remember this. Terry Fontenot said he had interviews. He knew he was going to get the GM job here a week before it was even happening, because the Saints were still in the playoffs at the time. They were getting ready to play the Bucks. He knew that was going to happen. He knew he was going to get the job. So he was saying, okay, let me interview some of the guys who's in consideration to get the head coaching job. Those guys were Joe Brady, Arthur Smith, and who was the last person? Was it the Lions head coach? It might have been a Lions head coach. It might have been a Lions head coach. Those are the three guys. He had interviews with each one of those guys, naming out the plans that he wanted, what you want to do year 1, year 2, year 3, and how we're going to take this forward. He knew who was going to be hired. So stop saying that they hired the head coach before hiring the GM. No, they didn't. They didn't. The hiring, the news may have came out before that happened. But them saying, oh yeah, we're going to hire the head coach now we're going to go look. No, they didn't do that. They didn't. This news has been out since everybody was hired, since Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith were both hired. He has said this numerous times that he had interviews, he had calls, he had what do you call it? What do we do interviews and group calls off of now on computers? Microsoft Teams. Yeah, that. So he had meetings with him before all of this was even solidified. So no, they did not hire the head coach before the GM. Now, was it his full choice? We don't know that. But at least we know that he had some consideration into who was going to be coaching the team, and Arthur Blank and the rest of the organization. Zoom. Thank you, Trey. Zoom decided that Arthur Smith was the best candidate to lead this team 3 years later. Is that looking like the right choice right now? Not really, but that's like I said, he knew who was going to be the head coach before he was hired.
All right. Field trip. Let's do this. All right, let's take a look at some of these things right here. McKay was promoted to his latest role in January 2023 with new Falcons president Greg Beals and AMBSE president Tim Zulowski, as well as the leaders of the AMBSE shared services, all reporting to McKay. Reporting directly to the Blank family of business owner and chairman Arthur M. Blank in his Falcons CEO role, McKay maintains day-to-day oversight of football operations with Falcons head coach Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, the team's general manager, continuing to report to him. All right. McKay played a central role in the development, opening, and operation of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in addition to his Falcons duties. With the stadium built and operating in the best-in-class leadership team led by then AMBSC CEO Steve Cannon, McKay returned to focus a larger role of the Falcons on the operation of the Falcons, with the Falcons head coach and general manager reporting to him. He led the 2021 search that resulted in Smith being named the Falcons' 18th head coach and Fontenot being named the organization's 11th general manager. McKay was the point person in the negotiation, development, and building of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a process that began in earnest in 2008. Working closely with Blank, the City of Atlanta, the State of Georgia, and the Georgia World Congress Center Authority, McKay helped to secure approval and financing for Mercedes-Benz Stadium and created a true public-private partnership. The club broke ground on Mercedes-Benz Stadium on May 19, 2014, and it was completed in August of 2017 and serves as the home of the Atlanta Falcons and Atlanta United. He is the only executive to have led to two successful stadium negotiations, Atlanta and Tampa Bay. In April of 2014, McKay was named president of AMB Sports and Entertainment, which oversees the Falcons, Atlanta United, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So they report to him. Everybody seen that? They just report to him. You're literally shooting the messenger.
Man, oh man.
Because
Oh man.
everything else has got him tied with the AMBSC. You got the Atlanta United to deal with.
Yeah,
You have
Mercedes Stadium.
the stadium to deal with. And what else is in here, right? It's all back in his past in the 2000s. As far as everything else. So again, can anybody else in the chat explain to me what this has to do with Bijan not getting carries or the sack totals not reaching your potential in the last couple of years, or the interceptions that have been happening on the field and the fumbles that have occurred and the injuries on the offensive line that have taken place and the defensive line for that matter. The red zone play calls.
Kyle Pitts only having 600 yards in the last 2 years compared to his 1,000 in year one. Oh, let me explain to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had to go on a little rant that Rich McKay has nothing to do with anything that is going on right now. His main importance is, like I said, being the president of the rules negotiation and all of that, going over rules and flags and all of that. What happens in Mercedes-Benz Stadium as far as ticket prices, what events happen at the stadium as far as championships, concerts, comedian shows and all of that, fights, they have fights here. And people, like I said, people have been clamoring for him to be fired, saying that he is the reason that we hired Arthur Smith before we hired Terry Fontenot, which is not true either. Terry Fontenot distinctly said, and it was withdrawn, that he had interviews and Zoom calls and calls with coaching candidates on who he thought was the best and who who was best for his plan and who would bring the most out of this team. So he had calls with them. He knew he was going to get the job the week before the Saints season ended, because of course you can't take and persons make a person and head coaching job who's still coaching in the playoffs, whether that's even a special teams coordinator to offensive coordinator. Heck, even a head coach may say I may want to switch teams, even though that is nearly impossible to happen because no coach would ever do that. Still, you can't make a coach from another team that's coaching in the playoffs that team. So he had interviews with Arthur Smith, Joe Brady, and I think one or two other coaches. But yeah, that's what this rant was about, and we just Noah thankfully searched this up to show people that he literally has little to nothing to do with what happens as far as the hiring, signings, tradings, extensions, cuts, and all of that. That would be up to Arthur Blank, of course, but Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, and the rest of the organization and coaching staff.
Like, if I remember correctly, Rich McKay wasn't even a part of the press conference that brought in either.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
Terry
It was just
Fontenot or Arthur Smith.
It was Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank was there.
Yeah. Arthur Blank.
He kind of has to be. But
yeah.
I mean, and here's what's crazy is that, like, I can ask every other fan base, like, hey, right away, who is your team CEO? Like, who's your team's president? Most people wouldn't even know, and they wouldn't even care. But he's been a name in the building.
It just keeps getting brought up.
And I'm looking at this this Sports Talk ATL article about how Mike Florio was saying about, oh, he's got a secret role in the Falcons organization. And it's quite literally that this is what he's hung up on. He's thinking that McKay is essentially going rogue in his job. That is just giving him way too much power over that because, well, he's got to report to the owner about what's happening, right? It's so wild. And I understand that, like, yes, he led the search that resulted in Smith and Terry. Yes or no in chat? Do we like Terry Fontenot?
We love Terry, man. Who doesn't love Terry Fontenot, man?
Well, we'll see. Yes or no? Do you love Terry Fontenot or like? Let's just start with like. Got 2 yeses, 0 nos. Not going to force anybody to have one opinion or another. Okay, we got 4 yeses, 0 nos. 5 yeses, 0 nos. Granted, this is out of like 22 people that are watching right now, and then who knows who's going to be watching afterwards. Mist wants to be different, so
yes, we can kind of
the honesty at least. Speaking of Terry, he's got a question for us. We'll get to that later.
I'll explain that one for you. I know Noah hasn't been, Noah is kind of different from me. He doesn't really do his scouting until the season is completely over. I've been doing scouting the last 2 weeks, really since college football started, but I've really got into it.
Got another.
So what I'm getting from this is that we all love Terry Fontenot and what he's done. His drafts may not have been the best, especially the first one. but his, from the signings, extensions, deals, how he's been able to curve us out of cap hell and all of that, we can pretty much say we all appreciate Terry Fontenot and what he's done for us in the last 3 years.
And it's kind of crazy because, and you can try to pin this on like recency bias, and I understand that, but like, Scotty, you also just said that Rich McKay should have been gone like 10 years ago. Could you explain your reasoning as to why you thought that? But you still like Terry Fontenot. Or is this going to be another Dave situation? Dave has not been here.
I just forgot about him, man. We need another sustainable score, man. After the last 2 weeks, what's a sustainable score, guys? Because I will take a 3-0 win tomorrow if it just comes down to that.
At this point, I need something.
Jet Life,
magnetic pole.
Jet Life. That's kind of why I want. Why I agree with the Terry Fontenot stuff. Terry Fontenot has brought a lot of talent in here, and not just talent that you'd be like, oh well, we signed Dante Fowler to a 3-year, $48 million deal. This is going to be great. No, the talent's actually proving itself this year. From Jesse Bates to Caden Ellis, David Onyemata, Jeff Okudah, Clark Phillips, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Drake London. The talent is proving. Matty Ice 2.0, but in the trenches, man. But yeah, the talent is proving itself. Clark Phillips, Taquan Graham. He's even bringing it. Timmy Horn when he was getting play time. Timmy Horn was doing some great things here. He's bringing in talent, and he's not overpaying for it. He's either underpaying it and it's still paying off, or just paying it just the right amount enough. And to be honest, we're gonna underpay Jesse Bates right now. Jesse Bates should probably be making more than $17 million a year. But hey, he loves Atlanta. He's doing everything he can. And hopefully we don't take him off to enough to where he wants to leave. Please and thank you. Because, he's been through this before with the Bengals, mostly. He didn't really have a good year until like 2021. So I'm pretty sure one more down year won't kill him. But yeah, Casey Hayward was good until he had that shoulder injury. Arnold Ebiketie. The only 3 selections I can say what was he thinking was D'Angelo Malone, because he literally is getting no play time on defense, Jalen Mayfield, and I was gonna say Richie Grant, but Richie Grant's like up and down so much these days. I can't even say if he's a bust or not. And I can't really at that day 3, 6-round picks aren't really that important, so I can't really say Frank Darby. So really 2 selections I can say what in God's name were you thinking were D'Angelo Malone and Jalen Mayfield. Desmond Ridder, he's played enough. He showed us what he can do. He's not the franchise quarterback. They've pretty much stated that with the benching. He's not going to be the franchise quarterback. So, at least he tried. Let's think about it. What quarterback from that draft class is actually doing pretty well right now and having a winning season, or having a winning season and doing well right now? Kenny Pickett's been hurt, but even when he wasn't hurt, literally averaging 12 points per game. Malik Willis is QB3 to Mayo Levis and Ryan Tannehill. Speaking of Ryan Tannehill, he's so dead and so done in Tennessee. We'll get on that another day though. Desmond Ridder just got benched for a second time. Sam Howell he's top 5.
He's got some promise. He had a lot of passing yards, but
passing yards, but his team's still god awful. Still having terrible turnovers. Offensive line I think is like the 3rd most sacked quarterback in the league right now. I know he's in the
Yeah, it
top
wouldn't
2.
surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, but like, what quarterback is doing good? I mean, he tried. He tried. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, we got Marcus Mariota and Logan Woodside as our 2 quarterbacks," because we have no future or promise at that point. At least we had hope that Desmond Ritter could be the guy. He's not the guy. So now, I mean, it's not like we spent a first round pick on him. So it's like, you know, we just go try again.
And if you noticed in the Panthers game, like Richie Grant was barely on the field. He was more of a special teamer that time.
Oh yeah, DeMarco
I
Hellams
think he
took
had
like
like
90%. I
7 snaps.
think it was 6.
Yeah,
And
it was
who was the last guy we seen have those type of snaps before they got released last year?
probably like Michael Walker.
Yeah, Michael Walker. Yep, Michael Walker. I knew you, but you know what? I told you, man. We'll be on the same page, man. And the way it's looking right now, I think DeMarco Hellens is going to be our number 2 safety next year. I think they're going to let Richie go at this point. I mean, he hasn't really proven anything. He hasn't proven anything to say that his spot is guaranteed next year. Because in the 9 games, DeMarco Hellens was active and started, or at least gotten minimum 15 snaps of playing time. I think we can all agree he's done better than that one hiccup he had against the Bucks, where he, and for some odd reason, guarded the inside instead of where he was supposed to be at the sideline. Other than that, he's been a great tackler. He doesn't get beat in coverage. He's making smart plays, and he's making plays on the ball that's helping the defense. And to be honest, he's a better cover safety than Richie Grant will be probably. He's a better box safety very much, and he's a better tackler. And at this point, he might be a better ball hawk. He just doesn't have the interceptions to count for it. But, like I said, Richie Grant might be Michael Walker 2.0. He just might be. Because at this point, I mean, we can't keep playing 3 safety. The only reason we were playing 3 safeties a lot in that Tampa game is because Caden Ellis had one. No, what was that? No, that was the Jets and Tampa game where we had to play 3 safeties a lot because we didn't trust our third linebacker to do what Nate Landman could do. So at this point, we kind of see where in now. Of course, some people, we have those schemes. We have those kind of games where we're kind of scheming this guy out. We're like, okay, he's probably not going to do well in this type of game, so we're going to give this guy more snaps. But if this continues over the next 3 games, we pretty much know Richard Grant is probably either going to be on the bench next year or not here at all.
So I also wanted to take a look at this because I think this speaks volumes, because I've been trying to say for a while that our roster is honestly pretty comparable to what San Francisco has, but it's the usage that's what's the biggest factor there.
And
Because it's not like these players are terrible. Like, no, like we have top 10 picks pretty much all across the board, and when they have the ball, they can behave like top 10 picks in the league. And I mean, he's pretty much summing it up right here, right? Like, this is a prime spot for not only a coach, but also a quarterback, and also a quarterback coach, because you're going to have a lot of fun with this team knowing the people that you have around anybody, right?
And they're all locked up too. Other than Kyle Pitts, you don't really have to
They're
worry about
on cheap rookie deals for a couple of years, and because it's like such a "what have you done for me lately" type of league, like Drake London can't really ask like top dollar money, which is unfortunate for him. Like, but his family's full of freakish athletes, so I think they'll be fine. But as far as like someone like Kyle Pitts, like, what do you really say there as far as like his contract negotiation skills? It's
at this point you just franchise tag him and see what happens. Because I don't think we want to have another.
Who knows what kind of spark that will light in him as far as like his longevity. Because I think he's got a lot to prove, and now he's got a kid to raise, so got to make that money for them,
And then again,
I mean, there's a lot of families in the NFL, but when you're like right away starting out like fresh. By the way, someone else also had a new child around this time. Well, I was also playing for us with a couple of games to go.
Michael Walker.
Started with an M.
Not Matt Ryan.
Ohana. Thought that would have been the Hawaiian hint. Marcus Mariota.
Oh yeah. As soon as he quit. Kid was born. I think that was the excuse Arthur Smith used for him too.
That's certainly something that I talked about last time, but you remember saying that.
Yeah. What's going on, Coach?
Coach?
To be honest, and I because I know this was supposed to be
I mean, he had it too, and then still flew back or like drove with, I want to say, Arthur Blank. Like they rode together.
Yeah, they flew back.
To get back to the stadium.
Yeah, they flew back. It was like kid was born at like 3. They flew back and got here like an hour before the game started.
Right. And still
got mollywopped by Carolina. Whew, man, we got to start wearing all white to Carolina. We please, never again. Wear the white and black like we did in 2021. So I know this was supposed to be about us going against the Colts. I know, but we kind of have like a lot.
Not even in name only.
Yeah, but like I know we kind of have a lot going on. But I wanted to go back to a question that somebody asked about us. Asked us who should be quarterback 1 or the quarterback this year. So unless Tyler Heineke has 3 straight 400-yard, 3 touchdown, 4 touchdown passing games, we all know he's not our franchise quarterback. So I have it's 3 guys right now that realistically we could end up getting. No, 4. Excuse me, 4 guys that we could realistically end up getting. Number
Lamar
1,
Jackson.
Oh yeah, hey. But I'll bring that name up here. But okay. I was just about to say that name. Yeah, Justin Fields. Not that one though. No, keep him.
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, you're pushing it. You're that one's. If he came here, the only reason he come here is because Artie's still here, and even still,
Garoppolo.
Didn't he get benched for I don't even know what a Raiders quarterback is.
There's been like 60 quarterbacks that have played in the NFL so far this season.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
That is so sad. Wow. What happened? It's the longevity of people. He got hurt and then he got benched. As soon as he came back from injury, they just gave the starting quarterback. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell, they gave it to him. He got hurt. I think he had hurt his finger or his back, and then he's been cleared of injury. He's just been sitting on the sideline holding a clipboard.
All right, who else? Carson Wentz.
Hey, Kirk Cousins. We all know. Hey.
Okay, now you actually named a good quarterback. Josh Dobbs.
But see, Kirk Cousins come off an Achilles injury though.
Well, then fine, Kyler Murray.
Oh yeah, I heard of him. Yeah, we've heard that one too. That's probably the most unrealistic one out of everything, because they're not even in. I mean, they're in a spot to draft a quarterback, but like, why would you start over when you have the quarterback? You just need everything else. That'd basically be like. I mean, then even if you traded them, the dead cap will be. You'd be restricting yourself. You'd be like, okay, well, we traded our top quarterback. We got a couple first-round picks for him, but now we have no one else to sign for it. The young quarterback is going to be throwing to Marquise Brown with a banged-up O-line other than Rashawn. No, not Rashawn Slater. Who was the tackle that just looked at last year? Us?
Is it a
quality QB? What the? Let me look this up right quick. There we go, Atlanta Falcons.
Here's another thing that's going to help us out. I the heck is Ridley's stats right now?
Oh yeah, that's our second round pick waiting right there. Holy, I forgot about that. Oh, Michael Pittman's out for tomorrow. That's
Yeah, concussion.
They said he cleared protocol though. I thought he was gonna play, but hey.
I need to stop using Pro Football Reference for injury updates. Anyways, Calvin Ridley has 60 catches, 781 yards. He is 32nd in the league in that category. He has 5 touchdowns. And I kind of forgot what the requirement was, but he doesn't look halfway near getting them.
Does a franchise tag get us the pick?
How do I look that up? Ridley trade details.
Oh, yep. Franchise tag him. That's probably what they end up doing. Unless he's getting paid like 17, 18 million because they know the franchise tag is up.
I like how the AI answer immediately starts off by saying the trade is a complex one. You don't say.
I mean, even still, the third round pick helps us, but second round, higher pick, better talent, you know. And then we can still use that to trade up too if we needed to for a quarterback or trade it for a quarterback. Yeah, Minshew's still starting, Jet. He's still starting. Had a great game last game too. They had like 2 touchdowns, no picks, 200-some yards to like 250, 240.
Because I feel like it was like there was some statistical things that he had to get for them.
It was either he had to get yards.
Oh, okay. So the requirements for Ridley was like if he stays on the roster, it's a 4th round pick. If he gets his incentives, it's a 3rd round pick. But if he gets an extension because of what he did, it's a 2nd.
And I think he had to play like 70% of the snaps.
That might be. They're not saying it here.
My dad has searched a Calvin Ridley trade because I know somebody put the incentives in there.
It's kind of weird how his usage is 80%. We only need 65 for a 3rd. If he resigns, we get a 2nd.
So basically, we have the 3rd round pick locked up, but all we need him to do is just sign an extension or get franchise tag for that to become a. Oh, so how many receptions does he have? I mean, I think he's completed 2 of those.
It was 60.
So 60% of the snaps. I already did that because he's playing 85% of them. How many receptions does he have?
Yeah, he's got 60 catches. Just trying to take a look at these.
I'm pretty sure he can get 15 catches in 3 games, right? I mean, he's done it before. Just did it a couple weeks. I think he had like 22 receptions in like 3 weeks. A couple weeks ago, him and Trevor were going off before Trevor had got injured against the Bengals. Bless you.
That was a cough, but thanks. Yeah, Lawrence being cleared definitely helps too.
So we can't get first place back tomorrow, is what you're saying? Because we're tied with the Bucks right now. So we either go to first or either way the win.
Let's not be hasty here.
I mean, the win helps.
It does. I'm not disagreeing there, but it's just the likelihood of getting it.
Oh yeah. Because the other than the 49ers, the Colts are the best record in the last 6 weeks with being literally 5-1. So this game is nowhere near easy, even without Pittman being out and facing Gardner Minshew.
I think all the barking has stopped. Um, Speaking of games, how's that Bills Chargers game going on right now? I haven't taken a look at the score yet.
Somebody just had a bomb. They said it was a 57-yard touchdown bomb. Most likely the Bills though, because we know how the Jets are. And the Bills,
Chargers.
Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers are up 10-7.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. What the heck is happening with Buffalo? Why do they only have 7?
They just blew out the Cowboys last week.
And
Yeah,
the Raiders blew out the Chargers.
always making things so difficult, man. All right, so let's think about these quarterbacks right now. So I got 4 quarterbacks, and no, I want you to see if you know any, or if you do know any, give me your take on each one. Does have to be a long take.
Out
So
of the draft, most likely, right?
yeah. 3 of these are the
Okay.
draft. Only one is trade. So trade one would be Justin Fields, of course. Young. This year is of course his contract year. Well, next year would be. So that's the D factor to it. If he does go off, you kind of have to pay the guy immediately. And then if you pay him and he ends up bombing out, now you're screwed. So just to take back on that one. Then you still got to trade assets for him. Number 2, Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner, 50 touchdowns this year. His stock was going to be like a day 3 last year if he would have came out. Now it's top 15, top 10 pick. We're picking 10 right now, but the likelihood we stay with that pick is kind of 50-50 right now, depending on how these guys play, how we win or lose, and who we win or lose to. Number 3, Michael Penix, also another guy that was probably going to be like a day 3, day 2 pick last year, comes in. Now he is QB4. Now, any other draft, if this wasn't such a loaded QB draft, he would probably be QB2. I wouldn't say QB1, but probably like QB2. Lefty. So, of course, we getting little Michael Vick vibes. Lefty, good scrambler, good arm, good
Always
accuracy.
like a lefty.
I always like the lefties. Tua, too. You got some good lefties out there, Tua. And then number 3, last but not least, I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Well, this is the most unlikely one. This is if we like literally traded up to or we either have a top 5 pick or we traded up to having a top 5 pick, would be Drake May. Now that's the most unlikely out of all of them because May is probably going to go in the top 2, and we would either have to we'd either have to tell the Patriots or the Bears, hey, look, you got Mac Jones, you got Justin Fields. You don't need these 2 generational Well, I can't call them 2 generational quarterbacks, but you don't need these 2
I cannot
great
believe you called
quarterbacks.
Mac Jones in that category.
You don't need these 2 great
I
quarterbacks.
would
You got
rather you say, hey, you got Bailey Zappi.
I mean, yeah, Bailey. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, you got Bailey Zappi, man. Come on, man. Your next Tom Brady, number 4. Who doesn't want the next Tom Brady, right? Let us go out that number 2 overall pick for 2 first and a second. Might slip in Jonnu Smith. What do you say?
If I'm back to the Patriots.
But yeah, that's the most unlikely out of them. Now, of course, my 2 favorites are Daniels and Penix. As you heard me say earlier, I don't trust the Justin Fields thing. I don't really see after 3 years, what he could become. This is literally like you saying how Desmond Ridder could be Geno Smith. He literally have to be Geno Smith. Like, he have to go to another team, sit for a couple of years, or sit for a year or 2, and then boom. And right now, we just don't have that timing. This is like literally our window. This is our Super Bowl window, and we're contending for a first place team that only has 7 wins. Sounds sad, but This is literally our Super Bowl window. We have the talent. Everyone's on a cheap contract. Defense is for the feisty veterans and a mix of young guys. We got we have the talent. We just need the coaching. So, and the quarterback. But yeah.
So now we get to the biggest thing, because going back to my analogy about like you get the sandwich, you didn't like the meat, and then they're trying to like change out the bread, and the person that's like making these adjustments that aren't gonna help anything in the long run, we just got to make sure that, and this is the weird thing too, right? Because if we think about like a building, um you got to have people in place to design it. You got to have your architects, and then you got to have your construction crew, and then you got to have like your cleanup crew and all that kind of stuff, then like your paint thing. But you can have like your construction crew and like your paint crew and like your electrical installation, like all that kind of stuff. You can have everyone like in with full responsibility of building the foundation and the rest of the building. But your entire project is being held up because of the actual designer or the actual architect. And it's weird because it seems like we have that construction crew. We have the people that are there that are necessary to build the foundation and then grow a nucleus for this team for like the next couple of years, maybe close to a decade. And we're not seeing the results that we want now. One, because of how young everyone is and how inexperienced some may be when it comes to their assignments, but that is a part of the coaching, right? Like if your construction crew is messing up because they don't know how to design a certain part of the building, and it's like that's because it's almost not physically possible, then you're going to have to turn and be like, all right, well, what are you really telling them to do here? Because if nothing's going to work, then you just have to cut the plan and you have to make those adjustments. And if you don't, then you're screwing everyone else that's responsible for building this foundation. So I do see a potential Super Bowl window. But problem is you have to make sure that you're not with the bottom feeders of the league. And this roster is like we've been saying before, like plenty of times over, this is not a bottom feeder roster. And that's what's the most frustrating part about this. Yeah, for
No, the
some
reason
reason, like I said, we're 26th in scoring, which doesn't explain, or it just doesn't give a rational explanation as to like what things are going on. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about like what was the sickness and what were the symptoms, right? I think we found the sickness.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did.
And the symptoms could be
Winning.
overblown in some categories. The symptoms could be underlooked in others. Um, and it's not even just like other teams have been doing it so fast. I think what's happened is the reality of the league right now, as far as how other quarterbacks for a lot of different teams have been able to come in and adjust to their own strengths as a quarterback. And yet we still have the same kind of issues with ours. Like it's really frustrating to take a look around at like who's starting everywhere. Like we literally have a matchup between Case Keenum and Joe Flacco. and it's about to be an awesome game. I can't believe I'm saying that as we're reaching 2024.
And Joe Flacco wasn't even on the team for 2 years until 4 weeks ago.
Yet they just seemingly entered the offense and just it clicks for them. And yet, any quarterback that came in for us so far, I mean, there's been two, but it's it's enough of a sample size because not many teams have only had just the one quarterback this far into the season. Um, but it's like we're missing a spark plug. Like we can't even get the offense to start. It's just a non-operational thing. So I want to get to this. I want to. I think I'm going to save this question for next week. Um, but what they're saying here, been a Falcons fan since '88. Win, lose, or draw, I ride. I'm just ready for to get back to the sustainable, successful, like the 2008 to 2012 playoffs every year, and kept building the team, or the '97 to '99 Dirty Roads. There's a windows in time that seem really rare when it comes to this franchise as a whole. But the next question that I want to ask everyone that tunes in, either right now you can think about it. If you have an answer right now, I guess we can get into it. But I want to let you guys like have this in the back of your mind when the next time you decide to join us for this conversation. The question I have is, what Falcons game would you show to someone to be a fan of this team next year? Like if you're trying to convince someone to like watch this Falcons team, is there a game that you can show that they can be a fan of for this next season?
Saints game. That game right there, that was like what we could be if we just stopped getting in our own way. And we still got in our way that game too. Had those two picks, one in the red zone before half, the one back shoulder where I don't even know why he back shouldered to throw. The Green Bay one too. That Green Bay one, Houston, that too. But for me, it's probably between Green Bay and the Saints game. Green Bay, we were down 12-24, started the fourth quarter. We come back. Defense goes on straps for four drives straight. The last drive being the counter punch, and we ended the game. Desmond Ritter comes back. We had a bunch of good plays. I mean that too, but that Saints game was literally a game of what could you the Atlanta Falcons be if you just stop shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again. Stop making dumb play calls. Stop trying to overpass the ball. Stop throwing interceptions. Stop fumbling the ball. Make a tackle. Defend a deep ball. Stop allowing big plays. Get a turnover. We did all of that other than not commit a turnover, but we still were able to stop the deep ball most of the game. We still got the pick six. We actually had two turnovers that game, the fumble and the pick six. We got sacks. We got pressure. We didn't allow a touchdown. We were stout in the red zone. We scored on offense, for the love of God. We were moving the ball. And we won the game by 2 possessions. That's what this team. That's what I would show this fan base what we could be next year. Because 90% of this roster is most likely going to come back next year. This is a winning roster. This is a playoff roster. We all know that. Most of this roster is going to be back next year, unless their contract just doesn't warrant it. Unless Jeff Okudah is asking for a little bit too much, and gotta kick it to the curb, buddy. But it's that's the game I would show. But I mean, maybe with a different quarterback or maybe with a different head coach with a different scheme, we don't throw those two picks. But it's just like, put. I mean, Jaden. In my opinion, Jaden Daniels is my favorite quarterback prospect. Put him in this offense. I feel like he put up 25, 30 a game. The more he gets into the groove of the offense and with his talent. Now, of course, we just have to get a worthy guy that can go over the top of the defense, but we have that, but we just don't use him enough. And when we do use him, we don't throw the right type of ball. Either we're trying to do a home run ball and he's going across the middle, or we go across the middle ball and he's doing a home runner, trying to make it to the end zone. But yeah, we have the team. We need a quarterback to fulfill it. But if it was any game, probably be that Saints game. That was probably my favorite game of the year, to be honest. It's a beautiful game.
So, if that game does not exist for you, right? If you were this pessimistic about the entire season as a whole, if it leaves such a bad taste in your mouth to go back to that type of game, right? Whether it is a game like Green Bay, whether it is a game like Houston, whether it is a game like the first Panthers game. Kind of seems like the people responsible for that win are not going to be here, right? So
Well, at least on the offensive side.
feels kind of counterintuitive to like show them a game where it was a good performance by the quarterback, but then the quarterback likely won't be here next year, or at least they won't be starting. And that
Or the head coach might
it
not
goes with
be.
kind of all three of those games, right? Because those were the ones where, despite everything, you come back and you win. I kind of find it a weird thing to say, but is there a loss that you would show to someone?
Vikings or the Bucks, either one.
Because those are also like weird interpretations of this team. I would probably say the last Tampa game, just because like it's not all about like the good with this team, right? Like you need to make sure that you're open and honest about the flaws of the team. And like showing them this kind of game where it seemed like everything worked well. It's a bit like difficult for them to have that kind of hope without recognizing the need to take a look at both sides. Um, like the 4 losses when the defense gave up the winning score, right? That happened 4 times, right? We had Tennessee, Minnesota, Arizona, and then Tampa. And then, well, technically Carolina too just now. Because despite everything, that could have ended 7-6. Wonder what would have happened then. Anyways,
I mean,
like once you kind of look at the underbelly and then get like an idea of what needs to be looked at further, you got to run through your diagnostics before things can get better. And that's kind of the situation that we have. Because these rest 3 games, like I wouldn't show it to anybody, no matter how good of a game they end up becoming. Because it's not a true sign of what's going to happen.
no, I got our franchise quarterback yet. No, unless
You
we
don't have
won
a
all
franchise
three.
quarterback. You don't know who your coach is going to be by the next time around. Like there almost isn't a game to like objectively show to be like, all right, this is what the Falcons will look like next year. We don't know.
To be honest, I mean, unless we win all three of the games, we know Arthur Smith isn't going to be here at this point. From the signs are showing from what Arthur Blank said to him starting Taylor Heineke again to him saying that nothing else matters if we beat if we don't beat Indy. Basically, he's
Fine.
basically saying if we don't win out, I'm not going to be here next year. And we don't know that, but we know coaches have these talks before they're eventually fired. They're told you win these games, you're in. You lose these games, you're out. And sometimes coaches, bulk up make the right choices and they regroup their career from there and they win those games and they go on to be good head coaches. And some, like the Brandon Staley's and Dan Quinn's and maybe Arthur Smith or not, end up crumbling and don't make the playoffs or lose those games in bad fashion, and then they get fired. It's just that it is what it is. But I don't know. I mean, we have the candidates. I mean, but there's always going to be candidates to get a job, though. But to me,
Right.
the names I'm hearing right now are Ben Johnson, Joe Brady, surprisingly, Bill Belichick, and Eric Bieniemy, and Mike Tomlin if he's fired. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, but yeah,
I really can't see Bill.
yeah, no, too old. Want to draft a franchise quarterback. He'd probably be the guy to sign Ryan Tannehill.
Just let him leave on his own terms. I think he's got nothing else to prove. Like, what does he need to go to another team for?
And his coaching style is kind of stale at this point. I mean, you could tell
Plus,
he's not.
been
Oh no, he doesn't seem like he's
the weirdest in terms of drafting as well.
Yeah,
Which he likely won't have that position if he goes anywhere else, but
yeah, he is.
that's another factor that comes into play.
He's probably the
Like,
worst.
he's got a weird thought process when it comes to like searching for talent.
Can't find good receivers. Can't find a good quarterback. O-line is iffy. Defense, he can find some good defensive players, but like that's about it. And maybe a kicker. He knows how to find himself a kicker.
And a left-footed punter or something too. What else was there to talk about? Because
Chanel. So I seen Chanel said he likes Daniels, but what Heisman quarterback has done anything in the NFL? That I don't really know what you're talking about because we've had like what Lamar, Kyler, Bryce Young. It's kind of he's showing himself right now. He's had a lot of flashes, but a lot of downs. Lamar, Kyler, Bryce, Baker Mayfield's been here and there. I mean, it's a couple, but you're not always gonna have a Heisman player do
Lawrence.
Oh yeah, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, but like, I mean, even Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow won Heisman. Now he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I mean, even Cam Newton before he got injured won Heisman, top quarterback in the league. You know. But yeah,
It's just gonna be weird, like seeing an LSU quarterback potentially be a part of the Falcons.
has that ever happened?
It's not really mattered, but I don't think it's really happened.
That would be weird. Would never be weird too, because Drake's wearing.
John McVay does not want to do rebuilds, and this wouldn't be a rebuild, but I think that he's gonna have too much time to like, make this window work for the next season. If any movement were to happen there. And I do agree that like obviously you got to try to keep the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach separate, please. And then the wide receiver coach, thank you.
Don't we have the same wide receiver coach we had when Julio was here?
TJ Yates?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was here in 21.
Because I swear he was the only offensive-minded, offensive-sided coach we had kept.
He was hired as the wide receivers coach in 2022.
Well, now we see why our wide receiver, only good wide receiver we have is Drake and Scotty on occasion. Corey. So I want people to understand we had a QB coach. We did have a QB coach, Charles London. He was actually doing somewhat decent, and you could kind of tell everything kind of dropped off when he left because as soon as he left for that offensive coordinator position at that college, it seemed like the offense just took a steep turn for the worst as far as play calling, passing plays, all that kind of just went left. So then now David Grown has to do both, and we kind of see how that doesn't work very well because no one's on the sideline with Desmond or Taylor, but themselves helping each other out. So, I mean, we had them, but QB coach left, wide receiver
That's
coach
the other
wasn't.
thing too. Is that even if you decide to get an offensive coordinator, like you have to make that decision of whether or not they decide to go up in the booth or like stay on the field. And if they decide to be in the booth, then it's not just a rookie that you need. Like you still need another veteran behind them. And that's the other thing we have to think about. As far as who it could be, you got some options, but I don't know what the contract is like for some of these other guys, especially like veteran backups, because I think Terrence has got his own stuff going on. I would love for him to be a part of that, but I don't even think he would like initially turn it down either. Roddy White, I
would having a heartbeat.
even Sean Jefferson, despite Van not having a super long leash on this team. What else was there? Because I didn't write down the questions that I wanted to ask. Keenan Allen is. I'm not saying he's like out of our budget because we're going to be pretty high up in terms of salary cap, but
40 mil. Another loaded cap year. But what would he do though? Because we don't. Drake London's not really a route technician, but like, what would he do though? Because we know he's not going to be here for the next 3 years because he's already in his mid-30s. Kind of already have enough position route receivers, and at this point, the only thing we really need is a good number 2 that can take the top off of a defense.
That doesn't seem like Keenan Allen's job.
Keenan Allen's never really been a burner. Most of his touchdowns literally come in the red zone. Or they're like, deep bombs off of a double move or something. He's never been the type of guy that oh yeah, this guy's like 4.4, 4.3, 4.2 speed. He's just gonna run a post run and just outrun everybody. That's not really Keenan Allen. And I feel like we already kind of have a Keenan Allen, just he's not a route runner and that's Trey London. I don't know about the center part.
Yeah,
pretty good this year. Kind of to the struggles without Drew the last 2
games. I had to double check to see if it was a Newsiel or was it? Wait, no, Matt Hennessy. He's on
Matt
Hennessy.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. Knee injury.
Okay, I kind of forgot about that. I don't know why, but for a second, I was just the idea, the concept that we could have had Hennessy snap to Heineken. Hennessy to Heineken. Healthy Matt Collins would have been helping a ton. And like he had an ankle injury, right?
Yeah, he re-injured it against the Bucks and then went and played the Panthers and then re-injured it again.
He literally walked to the stadium with nothing on. And yet we wonder why he's hurt.
Yeah, he did walk here with shorts, a t-shirt, and no shoes, not even socks.
Kyle Pitts was looking. I'm like, what are you doing? And it was like all these people talking about like, oh, he was grounding. I'm like, dude, that's asphalt. That's not grounding. That's not connecting yourself with earth. Uh, Madness, what was he talking about here? Kid from South Carolina. And a 4.2. Can use one of our second round picks. 6'2, 200. Big body with speed. Good lord, that's a cheat code. Um, Very promising. I can't fall in love with any prospect though. It's at least my rule.
Now,
um, as far as like other things that Hollins would provide,
hey, he's a
I
great
don't need my wide receiver 2 to be a gunner.
wide receiver 4. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But that would mean we have to do
Like
some
Kadero Hodge or
serious.
something.
Yeah, that would mean we have to do some serious upgrading to the wide receiver room to make him a wide receiver 4. Like draft a guy in the first or second, and then draft another guy like the fourth that you want to make a wide receiver 3 or sign somebody. Because in my opinion, if we're drafting a quarterback, I don't think. I mean, unless we're going to spend one of those second round or third round picks on a wide receiver, that'd be the only way we really make him a wide receiver 3. And at that point, they're about as raw as him because no second round wide receiver that I see right now is as good as him or better other than Xavier Worthy. So
And I do want to talk about this too. Because when he's not there, they doubled down on London and Pitts, right? That's gonna happen anyways.
yeah, there's no stopping that from happening. People are
And
already doubling Drake
what
London.
you have to do is not go after Devontae Adams. That's is too tall of a task, even for us. What you need to do is you scheme them. You draw other types of plays. Not when you have them both going in the same direction in the same spot on the field.
All three of you guys
Because
actually
yeah, it's going to be hard to throw when you have like 5 defenders covering 3 receivers within a space of 20 yards
15, maybe. And
at
that's
the
being generous.
farthest. Because like, yeah, we understand that they're going to get doubled, but every single team has to deal with that too.
With somebody, they may not be as good as the top 10 wide receiver, but everyone's top target is getting doubled some way, somehow. Even Nico Collins gets doubled, or Tank Dell when he was here had safety help over the top. Yeah, I may not count him as top 10 wide receivers, but everyone has to deal with it. And to be honest, Drake's been getting doubled since the Saints game. They've been sending secondary coverage over to him or putting their best guy on Drake. So it's not like this is like brand new. He's been dealing with this for a while now.
And it's not even vanilla play calling. It's just milk. Like vanilla's a good flavor. Vanilla's not the basic. If you want like basic ice cream, it's milk. It's just cold milk.
That you didn't
Where
freeze.
because milk is one of those things where it's like you can't even really try to describe the flavor.
It's just there.
Like no, vanilla I think of a flavor and I like it. But then here's a milk smoothie. Enjoy it. Okay, well, maybe I'm talking to the one person that actually will enjoy it, but you get my point. All right. I'm sure these are like what $6.99 for like a Ben and Jerry's kind of thing, and yeah, not to say that I don't want it either, because you're talking it into me. Okay, I don't know about ice cream. Point is, we can't be thinking that the problem is so complicated when the solution, if you were the offensive minded coach that you say that you are, you already have contingency plans.
No, you got multiple weapons. It's not like that's the only two guys you can go to. Like
You
when it was back in
literally just
2021, when you had
drafted a running back to help in the backfield.
so like we have Russell Gage as our number one, my boy. We have three top 10 picks on the offense. You still got Tyler Algier, Jonnu Smith, and Cordell Patterson. Kadero Hodges somehow turned into a great number three or number two, I guess you can say now, because he has more receiving yards than Van Jefferson on the season since they've both been here. So it's like, I mean, you got the weapons, you got the talent. Now you just got to use it, and then you're not using it. It's like you're trying to look smart and trying to force feed seven, but you still got 8 and 5 looking for something. And then when you force feed five, you just forget about six. I mean, about 7 and 8. And then sometimes you might even just completely forget about 8 altogether. So it's like,
Well, six comes in to get three, and then
yeah.
sometimes they don't do that, and then you really want them to try to get one, because that means
And
that
then we
you
go,
scored six.
and then we go for 2 with 9, 5, 7, and 8, and then we fail.
Because 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, or 25. 25 sometimes. I like how we're just not saying the guy's name, just number, because they're just, hey, we might
Or
hit another
84,
jet
just for the
sweep.
fun of it.
Hey, might hit another jet sweep with 81. Might be 85 this time. You can always find 85 open if you're around the end zone.
Heck, who's a
Van,
43? That's Tucker Fisk.
yeah. Van Jefferson jet is not staying. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a waste of a draft, a trade at this point, because we don't use him for big play options anymore. I don't really see him getting targeted that much anymore. I mean, he's just there to be out there at this point. When was the last? Does he even have a catch on the season other than
He
like week?
did. I mean, he has got a touchdown. I do remember that happening.
He has a touchdown.
Yeah. It was never mind. I lied. Apparently, he's got. I think he got close to a touchdown.
Oh yeah, the post he had against the Commanders, but he kind of, it was like he tried going across the middle and Desmond tried making it a home runner.
Maybe I'm thinking of like a play that like got called back or something.
Um, he had a drop against the Panthers on a little wheel route, but even if he got it, would have been flagged for illegal motioning.
Yeah. And who knows? Like, I saw this comment. I can't remember who said it, but if you did, you could, just leave it in the comments afterwards if you happen to be watching a minute or an hour and 43 minutes into this. But the comment said, like, I've never seen Arthur Smith like initially work with get so much out of so little, only for them to like immediately get so little out of so much.
You know, it's crazy. We're averaging more point. We were averaging more points last year than we are this year. We were averaging like 21 points last year. This year we're averaging 19. We have way more talent than we did last year. That's what I don't get. You have another top 10 pick. You got your star tight end back. You got some more complementary pieces. You still got Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Tyler Algier. And you had another year of Desmond Ritter fully learning. And
What might feel like a last year of Cordell Patterson.
yeah, and you still got Cordell Patterson. I can't believe I forgot to say you still got Cordell Patterson. So like this point, like you serious? We're averaging 19 with this. We're averaging 21 with last year. Oh no, do you, and I wanna add. Well, I think I know everyone's opinion. I think they have their opinion, Arthur Smith. But new, I never asked you, Noah. But is well, how do you feel about Arthur Smith right now? Like firing and staying and all of that.
What is there even really to think about? Because as far as like, I'm not gonna go off of like the future, but I will go off of like current and then past, like what he's given us so far. Um, because what I've seen from other people is that they've mentally checked out of tomorrow's game, and I didn't have that thought 2021 when it was his first year. I didn't have that thought at all in 2022 because I knew that at some point he's going to get his pieces, he's going to get his offense clicking, he's going to get his quarterback, and we're going to see the vision that he had. I couldn't knock him on anything that he had happen to him in 2021 because that was probably the roughest year in terms of like transactions and the roster build and the salary cap and everything. I couldn't really pin him down for anything in 2022 because although Marcus Mariota was his guy, there just was too much uh, things that weren't cohesive enough. Here, I can't look at like the players, not fully at least, and be like, oh, well, he just needs another person here. I'm like, you've had 3 years and you're averaging, you're threatening to go 7-10 again.
Maybe worse at
Like,
this
I
point.
don't know who this person is, but we got a Tennessee coach over here and it feels like Jeff Fisher.
It's like, how did you do worse with more? That's like the most backwards thing I think I've seen. You did more with less and less with more with an easier schedule. We didn't really play anybody this year. We played one Super Bowl contender in the Lions, one playoff contender in the Jags. The Packers are still inconsistent. We
We've already
played,
had 5 divisional games.
and every single one of those teams are 500 or worse. We played the two worst teams, or one, two of the three worst, no, two of the six worst teams in the league, and lost to
Two
four.
1-win teams.
Two one-win teams, lost to both in historical fashion. Played a Josh Dobbs Vikings team who had gotten there 3 days before and let him put up 31 on us.
Then the very next week, where Levis made me eat, or not eat, well, that's kind of in between, made me consume 4 chunks of mayonnaise inside a cup of coffee.
But also dropping 4 touchdowns on us in his very first career start. Barely played in the preseason. And since that point, hasn't even accumulated. No, he barely accumulated since then. Just 2 more touchdowns than he did against us in that one game. And you're telling me
So, like, now I can't give Arthur Smith another year
you really can't.
because there's nothing else for him to wait for. Like I
Next year,
said, like, he's like, we see what the problem is, and he's swapping out bread and not dealing with the meat.
I mean, we've already given him the O line. We've already given him the weapons. We gave him the defense. We gave him the defensive coordinator. We gave him the quarterback that he wanted, and we're still bottom of the division. Well, third, basically bottom of the division. Just lost to a one-win Panthers team without them even scoring a touchdown, which I don't even think that's happened to us before against the Panthers. And we've spent 3 years straight on offensive skill players. Just spent $150 million on the defense. Like I said, have the easiest schedule in the league, and we're somehow hoping that some other teams lose just so we can make the playoffs. At this point, if he doesn't win these next 3 games, he's out. There is no, even if he does win 2 of the next 3 games and we still don't make the playoffs, I can't, it feel like Dan Quinn all over again, winning meaningless games, ruining our draft position just for us to be in the same position next year with another player that we drafted in the top 10. This is kind of what it's feeling like right now, and it's frustrating because it's like you said all of this, you've talked, and like I said, him talking has sounded great. You're a great interview guy. You're like you're great for the players. The players play for you, but it's just like the players play for Dan Quinn too, and you see how that went. 5 years, 2 playoff appearances, 3 straight losing seasons. No, 6 years, including 2015, 4 losing seasons, 2 playoff appearances, 125-point blown Super Bowl lead, and another game where we should have beaten the Eagles, but our coaching screwed us. So at this point, it's like if you don't win tomorrow, I mean, we all know if he doesn't win tomorrow, he's basically gone because we're 6-9. We basically
Even
have
if he wins tomorrow, like, that still doesn't help his case.
because it's. I mean, okay, you played a good team. The Colts are a good team. They're a playoff contender team. Okay, so it helps a little bit, but it's like you still lost to 4 teams that are picking in the top 6 of the draft next year, or would be because you still got the Panthers who have the Bears pick. You play the Bears next week, so you can't lose to them. You basically, like I said, you have to win out. And even if you win out, it's like, okay, now you can't get a franchise quarterback unless you're trading assets. Because Taylor Heineke's not your quarterback of the future. You've already screwed Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter is his career is basically up in the air right now because he's not gonna. You can't go back to him and say you're my starting quarterback next year because you just benched the dude twice. You just threw him under the bus twice. So you can't go back to him. And at that 23rd pick, you're not getting Daniels, you're not getting Penix, you're not getting May, you're not getting Caleb Williams. And Justin Fields is a so-so quarterback right now who it's basically another Marcus Mariota situation. You're hoping you can get either his former self or you can unlock his potential. And right now you haven't showed any promise of unlocking anyone's potential so far with your own top 10 picks. So,
And I gotta say this because Keys bringing it up. Like, he let Taylor Heineke play in the Arizona game. That was the one win Arizona Cardinals. They didn't really have anybody that they were missing on the defense. And he got 55 passing yards in 3 quarters. 3.5 quarters.
before he hurt his hamstring.
That was the one win team. And that was supposed to be what the improvement, and I wouldn't even say improvement, but just like the basic replacement. This is what I'm saying. Like, he swapped out bread and it looked even worse of a problem. because I'm using bread in this analogy because it's the vessel of how you carry the meat.
Let's come back over here.
Like sometimes the vessel isn't the problem. And this is where I'm really conflicted because we can say all this stuff that we want about Desmond Ritter, and while he's not like free from these problems, it just leaves me to wonder the likelihood of him having a Geno Smith type of like career where he just looks terrible in one coaching coordinator and then looks great in another. And the fact that we have to deal with not only that conundrum, but the conundrum of other teams too, like what you said with Chicago, because it's not the same answer. I'll say that much.
At this point, it's a 60% chance Arthur Smith is not here next year. And I'm not saying that because I want the guy to get fired. It takes a lot for me to want a coach to be fired. Like at that point when Dan Quinn got fired, I was happy. I was like, at this point, we need him gone. But like at this point, what can you really do anymore? You've had your time. We got out of Cap Hill. We let you build your team the way you wanted it, who you wanted on the team. The DC hire was you and Terry, but mostly Terry. And the guys we chose you over are either having success on another offense or are having success on another team, head coaching wise, period. AKA Dan Campbell and Joe Brady. So it's like for us, now we look stupid because now the guy who we could have hired is having the Bills offense put up 20, 30 points a game, making James Cook look like a top 5 running back, and Josh Allen isn't throwing as many interceptions. And Dan Campbell took the lowly Lions, who were worse than us when this whole coaching process started, who we beat in 2021, is now 10-4, contending for the number 1 seed, and going to have their first home playoff game in 7 years.
Was that game held in Detroit? I think it was in Dallas.
What?
The last Detroit playoff game. I don't think it was held in Detroit.
I think they had the number 4 seed. They played Seattle, I think. Because
That
remember, they had a
I
home
remember
playoff.
that being in Seattle.
They were the 4 seed though, because remember Seattle, or were they the 3 seed? No, because we were the 2 seed and we ended up playing Seattle. They were like the 5th seed.
Year was that 2015?
16 when we had went to the Super Bowl.
So wait, we faced the Seahawks before.
We played them that year before. We lost to them like 26-23, and then we rematched them in the divisional round. And they had played the Lions the week before.
Yeah, of course I'm getting a bunch of like other Lions and Seahawks games. Okay, playoff history. Yeah, 2016 playoffs at Seattle.
So they must have
So
been.
if you really want to talk about a home playoff game for Detroit, you got to go back to '93.
Jesus Christ.
94 was at Green Bay. 95 was at Philly. 97 was at Tampa. 99 was at Washington. 2011 was at New Orleans. 2014 was at Dallas. And although Detroit was wearing their home jerseys, that's typically how it goes over there. And then I remember like one of the touchdowns that Seattle had was like in the end zone, and like I think his name was like Paul Washington or something. The Seattle wide receiver was doing a face mask on the Lions defender, and then they called it on defensive pass interference.
Oh, wow.
Like you can see his head like completely twist, and they're like, "That's defensive pass interference. The Detroit defender shouldn't have done that." Like, shouldn't have done what? So, yeah, it's been a while for the Lions, but Ford Field would be
booming.
Happy to have that place again.
And it's pretty much solidified because nobody in their division is taking that spot from them. It just depends on who they're playing at home.
Well, right now they have the Vikings. That should be
pretty fun.
I don't know how interesting this is going to be because I don't know what condition the Vikings are in, but
mid, about the same condition as us.
But then again, it's a divisional opponent, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about the Panthers just last week, and we were like, man, this is the worst team in the league. What can happen? I was like, pump the brakes.
You lose by not scoring.
Then again, we also lost the Lions because we scored. So makes sense of that too. Anyways, speaking of points, got to include the Colts in here somehow. So let's include them by having this. So all right. 2 hours later. Goodness gracious. I gotta. All right, let's get this on. What do you think you won last time, right? Because of course. Yeah. You go first then.
All right then. 2-time reigning champion. I'm trying to remember. Do you have 1,000 yards?
If you guys stick around at the end of the stream, once we complete this thing, I have a couple things I want to show you guys. I don't know why I decided to do this way late in the thing, but
we got so excited, man. Literally spent 2 hours on one subject.
Yeah.
And went different ways with different subjects.
It's so much to take in. Anyways, Colts, how are you guys doing?
Let's go 1,000-yard rushing seasons, Bears, Tariq Cohen. You didn't have 1,000-yard rushing season?
I think it was all-purpose yards.
Wow.
All right then. I was not expecting that. So you are mortal.
I was gonna go for Matt Forte, but I mean, Murphy said it, and then it's like that's probably like a 60% because no running back has done it really.
Okay, I'm gonna try this one. Give me Thomas Jones.
Wow. 5%. Almost there. All
right, your turn.
Okay. Well, that's the obvious one right there for the 49ers. I'm not going to do that one. Not going to do that one.
I was also kind of thinking Cedric Benson, but I can't remember if he was either like awful in Cincinnati and then was great in Chicago, or was the other way around.
Probably the other way around. Yeah. But then again, both of those franchises haven't been that good in the last 20 years. So Hmm. So now I have what, 3 tries left? You got 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Hmm. Hmm. Let's go running back Clayton Thomas for Browns 49ers. Or Thomas Clayton. My fault. Seriously?
I
I s-
I don't know,
what,
man. That's not
what,
that
other
I'm
team,
misspelling him.
what other teams did he play for?
Man, you are very immortal right now. All right then. Well, let's see what we have here.
So I got to go 3 straight, huh?
I don't know if you have any moves left to do 3 straight, unless if I give you an extra move.
Oh yeah. You do have it'd be 3-2 after this. I think I jinxed myself when I said 2-time champ.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that. But oh man, I didn't think we'd get this far this quickly. Let's see. There's a couple of names I'm thinking about that. I hope this isn't too big of a percentage. 11.
Wow.
All right. I was trying to think of Ahmad Bradshaw too, but I don't know if he reached that number.
Okay.
Might have been like a similar like Tariq Cohen range where it's like it was probably all purpose yards, but not necessarily scrimmage.
Or am I going to be petty and make sure you have to go somewhere else to win this game? Yes, I am. All right. So now we have to.
That was the other part of it too. Was like I made it really obvious. Is like where I'm trying to go. But then again, you have not gotten on the board at all. So
true.
There's
Jet. I was gonna use OBJ for that, but I was like, I got him mixed up with the Browns 49ers. I was like, I know OBJ played for 2 of these teams. I just don't know which 2. I was like, I knew he played for the Giants. I was like, who else did he play for? And I got him mixed up. But I was gonna use that one at first. Then I switched my mind and went with Tariq Cohen. All right. Well, we just gotta hope this one isn't a big percentage one. We're gonna go Frank Gore for 1,000 yards rushing in 49ers. Hopefully, recency bias with Christian McCaffrey takes this one. 26%. Wow. That other, what would that be? 74% 84%. Actually, yeah, I was right. 74% has to be with Christian McCaffrey.
I don't know. I mean, you got to throw in like Roger Craig, Ricky Waters, maybe Garrison Hurst.
That's what I was gonna go for too.
Carlos Hyde probably would have worked too.
Probably could have got me an extra turn if I went with him.
Man. Let's see what we got here though. It's so weird when you get into like this. Like you just look at teams and then your mind just blanks out completely when it comes to like finding the connection between them. But I need one of these to hopefully win no matter what.
I mean, you know, what, 3 ways?
It's just the players coming to mind. I always got to think of like tight ends and defensive linemen, corners, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. And I can't even think of like a lot of, because it's pretty obvious that I got to go in the Colts selection.
Yeah.
Got to go in the Colts category, and I'm just trying to think of like Colts players that play elsewhere. Man, this is. My mind is like fixated on a couple of players, and I can't get them out of my head, and I can't like confirm. Oh my goodness, this is like the easiest one to possibly win here too, because you like ran out of 2 moves. But the biggest thing is that I don't know if he like manifested stats on the other team.
Now, guys, side note, I'm going to let you continue talking to. But side note, thanks for all the names in the comments, but we try not to use those because that's kind of cheating. But thank you for the names, though.
Like maybe after we're done, you know, with our own selection, because there's only 4 guesses left. Like we're not going to be able to fill this one out.
There's
But
2 left, 2 turns left, basically.
Or maybe 3-1.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did get first turn.
This sucks. The fact that I. Man, I'm gonna. It doesn't work. No, I can't do it. Can't. I don't have anybody in mind. What the heck?
I have somebody in mind, but I can't tell you. Can't do it.
This is such a pivotal one. I can't even think of like the obvious one right now. Like, why? That's how brain dead I am. That's how long we've lasted in this stream. It's just melting me away because of the discussion that we had previously. Even about my brain power, now I'm just mashed potatoes in the skull. Just this must be incredibly frustrating. Oh, I do not intend to be this way, but my brain is just doing this right now. I have such a hard time with on the spot thinking. Here's what I'm gonna do. I have no choice but to just get this guess out of my head. It might not win, or it might not work, but I think that you've given me enough of a cushion to try.
Basically.
Oh. Don't know why. Okay, one of the names is Harry Collins. Oh my god, that worked.
Wow. I was gonna go Paris Campbell right there.
Oh.
Paris Campbell right there. Dang it. Dang it. I was gonna go Paris Campbell right there because he just signed with the Giants this year.
I had a feeling that a wide receiver was happening, so I was like hesitant.
Okay. So I can't go up anymore. So it's literally just going across.
It's quite honestly like which category is tougher for me to fill out. Because either have Giants, Browns, or you have 49ers, Browns. Those are my ways to win here.
All right, you know what? Screw it. Let's go to Forrest Buckner for Colts 49ers. Wow, that's
I'm
gonna be
trying to block me. All right.
What percent is that? 41. Almost got the limit.
Yeah, 41%.
Almost
Yeah.
got the almost.
Oh man. Okay. Oh. I'm Ty Whitner, 3%.
Wow.
Has anyone won diagonally before?
I did once. I think that was.
Okay.
I think the first or second one I won. I did diagonally. Everything else been like straight across. Wow.
Yeah, the chat life. I'm right there with you. Oh, for anybody that's like still wondering about like the few and far between updates that I have about my binge of One Piece, I've caught up to everything I can in the English dub because we're watching it with other people. So that's 1,036 episodes in, and several movies. We're still waiting on this weekend. We might watch the other movie tonight if I head over there in time. So get your last guess here because we're not going to be able to fill this entire thing out. What do you want to do?
At this point, let's just go OBJ for Giants. Browns. I already have his name in mind. Jet gave me that one.
And 344, 46%. Wow, that just would have crossed the border out of curiosity. Okay, so the other last things that I wanted to show you.
Got the OG hat. I gotta get my gear up, man. The newest thing I have.
I've been wanting a beanie for a while, so I got this throwback one, as you can tell. Got that, and then for some reason in my head, for the longest time, I've always wanted a bucket.
You like Arthur Smith and Terry Fondo now. More Terry though. Terry used to wear those a lot during summer camp.
I don't know. I think of bucket hats. I think of Roddy White.
That too. Or Julio. Julio used to wear that a lot when he was here.
Maybe Grady.
Muhammad Sanu.
Oh yeah. Well, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, last but not least, before we go on to end this bad boy,
I'm gonna wear it Luffy style.
Hey, Muhammad did that too at the end, Julio. But the last thing that we do before every game, one thing neither one of us have gotten right since week 1: score predictions.
Oh God, 17-10.
Yeah, I will gladly take that tomorrow.
Until proven otherwise, it's a sustainable score.
All right, I'm gonna do it. 20-17. AJ Terrell gets his pick tomorrow. It's his first one since 2021 against the Panthers.
It's weird that we got like details right sometimes, but we just don't.
Oh yeah, we've gotten a lot of details right. Jesse Bates pick 6.
So I just need like one detail. Like, okay, I don't know why, but I feel a 35-plus yard passing play from Heineke to Patterson. That's going to be my obscure thing that might just randomly come true.
What else did you say would come true? It was a couple weeks ago when we played the Saints. What was it?
I pretty much said their entire game plan. Like,
did you say a Jesse Bates pick 6 or intercept? I know you said Jesse Bates something.
I did say a touchdown of some sort on the defense.
Well, you got the Jesse Bates one right.
Yeah.
I said Jesse Bates would get an interception that game, and then I also said, did I say? No, I said Kyle Pitts would get a touchdown that game, but I didn't get that one. But I did get the Jesse Bates.
He did get one in Tampa.
Hey, I did get that one just 2 weeks late. Well, 2 weeks early, I guess.
All right. Well, that's going to do it, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. What I want to also say, while I still have like 17 you guys are around. Anyone that's caught up on all of One Piece's Legend, I try to watch it because my homies beg me to, but just one season is over 100 episodes. It's discouraging. Feels like you'll never catch up. So, I was telling this that we started watching it back in like the middle of April, and we were watching it with a bunch of other things. Now that we're like finished with it, we're going back to those other things that we kind of stalled out. I might let you guys know in another stream, but the pace that we were at is only like 6 episodes a day for like 5 days of the week, and we just kept at it. We had, full-time work schedules. We had like busy days, sick days, other events going on that caused us to like miss out on a couple things. And I knew that like from our calculations, like we were projected to like catch up to everything that was presented to us, even the entire like thing. Like if we just wanted to go full like switch over to the sub, like before the end of the year. So if you think about like 6 episodes per day, which is equivalent of 2 hours per day. And you can break those up in any, however way you want, right? It doesn't have to be a full-on binge. Although there will be some episodes where it's like you just got to see it out, you know? You go through those moments and eventually it'll seem like nothing, because overall, like we finished it out in like 7 months, and that was with like me having to travel a couple of miles to go over there and set it up and then just like watch it together. And I think that some of you guys, if you just like do it on your own, it's a lot easier to set it up and like think about it. And the crazy part is that I've noticed that people seem like stuck to this idea that like, oh, you have to see it through, otherwise it won't be worth it. They're remaking it again, like pretty soon. So you can watch that. You can watch the live action that's on Netflix. You can try to watch some of the movies and just like sped up versions through like the arcs and stuff. Like there's that. There's the manga and stuff. Or it's like you can find websites where you can watch or you can read the manga for free. There's a lot of different outlets to stuff like that, and it's not just like One Piece specific. Well, the other benefits, like I've never really seen an anime that had like Netflix adaptation, the ongoing manga, ongoing anime, remake, and movies. Like I don't think that's ever happened. So yeah, like there's never been a better time to hop on the train that is One Piece, especially like if you're a Falcons fan like this and you want your Sundays to like not be full of dread. This is something to fall back on. And it's not even something that's like, oh, you have to like watch a certain amount of episodes in order for it to get good. It gets good right away. Like, don't overthink it sometimes. I was right there with a lot of you guys that like, no, it's not possible. Like, I don't have any time. And I was like, wow, we actually like scheduled it out and planned it and worked out just fine. So, yep. Now we're going back to there. Anyways, we'll get to them. We normally would have had a soundtrack bracket stream tomorrow, but given the day that it is, we're gonna make it next week. So, and it's going to be UFC. I don't know if I made that clear, but yeah, if you guys are familiar with the UFC soundtrack, you can stay tuned and we will watch it on my channel. And we'll just discuss it then. I don't know like who's listened to any of them in full, but if you've tried, I really appreciate your efforts, because YouTube is very much against long form content and streams and stuff of that nature. Like it's very focusing on shorts. It's like really pushing like the quick content. So the fact that we can sit here for 2.5 hours and still maintain an audience of any sort, despite YouTube's best efforts, it's something that I always appreciate. So no matter like what we've said and like our takes and all that kind of stuff and the actions and the inactions that we have, it really has been great so far this year to see the development of like not only ourselves, not only like the Atlanta Falcons Nation channel, but just overall our connections with each other. So I would have wanted to save that for like the year end review to say it, but like I don't want to keep you guys waiting for praise, So anytime in which we can get something like that, anytime in which we can earn new followers and new subscribers for that is truly something that I want to keep doing for you guys. So let's say that 2024 works out better for us than it is 2023, regardless if our team does, because we've had multiple 7 and 10 seasons. So That hasn't stopped us before. I don't think another one will stop it now. And yeah, as we say all that, we're gonna take care for now. Next time, we'll either be talking about any other adjustments and transactions that's been taking place, or we will talk about soundtracks because I need something else. Or we can talk about, other things too on my channel. I'm not a one-trick pony. And neither is Trey. So, anyways, appreciate the support. Keep it up. We'll keep it up right along with you. And have a good night. Have a good weekend.
You too. Rise up.
Bye.